Welcome back to the Love You Sew Patterns YouTube channel. Today we're going to go over the Irene Crossbody. Part 1 is going to take you through steps 1 to 26 in the pattern. The Irene Crossbody is a great compact bag. What makes it unique are these big accordion gussets, which allows you to really open the small bag wide so you can see everything that is in your bag. This is view A, which has the front flap, 1.5-inch removable strap, D-rings, and also that exposed zipper pocket. Then we have view B, which has a placket over the back zipper pocket, an open slip pocket with a snap, and then a mesh pocket for the interior. You can see it also utilizes the plastic buckles, and then also the 1-inch strap is completely sewn in. So let's get started. You should already have your pattern, and then we will go through the supplies for view A. You should have your hardware, your magnetic snaps with some scrap interfacing, and then your zippers. Make sure to mark those. Then you have your primary panel, and then you have your front slip pocket pieces, and then you have your 2 gusset pieces, then your front flap, then you have your upper zipper pocket, your lower zipper pocket, your interior slip pocket, your top gusset, your side gussets, and then your bottom gussets. Then you have your D-ring tabs, which are not in view B. Then you have your card slot pieces, your side card slot, and then your upper and lower card slot pieces. And of course, you have your webbing for your removable strap. Then for view B, we have the 1-inch strap, your plastic buckle, the slider, and then the magnetic snap. Also remember that you do not have the front flap. You do have the back zipper placket, and then also the mesh and fold over elastic for the interior slip pocket. And please note, just like the instructions, we're going to go mostly through view A and then jump back and forth between the intricacies of view B. So here we have fabric, and you see the main primary panel and then the main front flap. This is a 2-interface process where the Decoville light will go up against the fabric, which is also just a brand name for that medium interfacing. Then the woven goes on to the back. I'm going to jump to step 4 of making the straps, since the prep of the zippers you can find in one of my YouTube shorts. And here is the strap itself for view A. So it's 1.5 inches, and then you fold back each end of the strap up by about 1 inch to secure your clasp into place. The slider has already been added, and you just want to make sure that your strap is not twisted in any way. You fish it all the way through and then back through that slider in order to make it adjustable. Then again, you fold that raw edge in about 1/2 inch and use a very thin amount of glue. You don't want to use too much, because once it gets really thick, you are actually going to end up really messing up the timing of your machine, because if your needle has to go through a ton of glue, it is going to slow down that rotation. Again, just make sure that your strap is not twisted in any way, and then you can take it to the machine. So I mentioned using an X box in all of the sewing of the straps in both view A and B, and it is purely a method to make sure that your strap is as secure as possible. Since this is a woven jacquard style strap, I do not want to pierce it with a rivet at all, just because it can cause some unfortunate unraveling later on as this bag wears. So I like to go ahead and sew right at the end of where that fold is, and then just be able to pivot my needle around and make an X. And it really is just an X box. It's hard to tell with the thread here, but that first time I went through, I didn't totally square the box, and here with this go, I am going back and reinforcing the full box perimeter. Please note that the parts of the buckle have been switched in the video versus the instructions. This is all to your own personal preference and it can be mixed and matched. And now we will switch over to view B, where you will take your 1-inch strap and cut off a 4-inch piece of it for the male end of your buckle. You'll see that I had fished it through the second part of the buckle and have hidden that mid bar in that male side. It's honestly because you don't need it, because we're not making, like a backpack where you're going to have to adjust that male side at all. All of the adjusting is going to be on the female side. So now you will see that I attached the female side of the buckle, and we're going to fish the 1-inch strapping around just like we did with view A. Double check and make sure that the strap is not twisted in any way, and that yes, you do have one end that is still raw and not attached to anything. Then we will move over to the machine. The first thing we're going to do is just to secure the short piece of strapping to the male buckle. I'm using my very thin, narrow presser foot to get in very close, and then I'm going to sew an X box. You can see that I did this in about 3 steps instead of in one continuous stitch, and that's just fine. It's just easier for me to get as close as possible without having to use a zipper foot in this case. Then we're going to set that aside and then secure the strap to the slider in order to make the strap adjustable. It's just like with view A, we're going to sew the X box to the strap in order to secure it. This is cotton webbing, and again, I wasn't into using a rivet. Of course, you are more than welcome to make any changes you would like, but with cotton webbing, it tends to open up and fray just the same as the jacquard, so I went with just sewing to make it as secure as possible. For view B, you can skip ahead to the accordion gussets. Now we're going to go to step 8 and create the tabs. You'll see that this tab has already had the long edges folded to the middle in order to have the edges folded up. Then we're going to edge stitch along each fold in order to secure those down. Fold the tab in half, matching the short ends, and then cut the tab in half along that fold. Here I am just making sure that each tab is exactly the same and then threading each one through a D-ring. Use a little bit of glue just to help secure them in place, but again, don't use too much. Then take your tabs over to the sewing machine, and you can use your zipper foot here to just make sure that you get as close as possible to the actual D-ring without actually hitting it. And now we're going to move over to step 10, the accordion gussets, and this is for both views. You will take your accordion gussets and fold each one in half. Then you will top stitch along the fold and then baste all along all the open edges there. Please note I'm using non-directional fabric, and I would highly recommend using non-directional fabric since this is folded over. If you use directional, you'll have one side that is upside down, but you are more than free to take the template and add a 1/4 inch at the top so that everything is running the same direction. The reason that I suggest having non-directional fabric is that it'll just reduce the bulk, since this gusset is going to be sewn into the zipper and you're going to have a lot of bulk there. You'll want to just make sure that you have as little as possible. Now with the gusset, it will be folded again, but now widthwise, and you just want to make a note that that spine is going to be facing the inside of your bag. Now it's time to move to the front panel, and first we're going to go with view A. So we're going to install the magnetic snaps, the male side to the front flap lining, and then the female side to the front slip pocket main. Now, I know everybody has their own preferred way of attaching magnetic snaps, and mine is using fusible fleece first. So I marked the snaps placement, I fused on the fusible fleece, then actually placed the magnetic snaps through the holes, put on the back washer, flipped them open, and then added an additional piece of fusible fleece on the back. And this way the prongs won't accidentally, over time, pierce through any of the fabric. Then it's time to grab the flap lining with the flap main and then sew all the way around the curved edges. You can see I am just carefully going around the edges with my regular presser foot, and it is obviously sped up, but if you want a nice curve, just make sure to take your time and rotate it with the presser foot up and down. Then it's time to trim the corners around that curve. I'm just using some serrated scissors. Then it's time to push all of the corners out and have the right side of the flap showing. Then you press and top stitch all the way around that curved edge again. In the instructions, I have you using a zipper foot in order to get close to the magnetic snap, but here I am able to use a narrow presser foot to get close but not accidentally hit that. Then make sure to baste along the top edge of the flap. Do all views at step 15, and you're going to take both front slip pocket pieces right sides together and sew across that top straight edge. Then you will flip all the fabrics so wrong sides are together, clip those corners, and then you're going to roll that lining down slightly just so that you don't see it from the outside. But with view B, you also want to make sure that the placement of the snaps is going to line up, and that's what we did there. Then you want to take the front slip pocket to your machine and edge stitch across that fold. Then you will go back and make a second seam parallel to that first, about 5/8 of an inch away. Then you want to make sure to baste all the way around the front slip pocket so that both layers are sewn together. Then you will go back and trim off that little sliver of the lining that got pulled down. Now it's time to add the snaps. I'm using my punch pliers just to make the holes where the snaps are going to go. You can use any type of snap that you would like. Just remember that you will need a cap for the outside pocket, whereas the front panel, that will be hidden. So you could go with any snap that has a single cap. Here I am using magnetic snap rivets. These are fantastic, and I love that I can just use my press to attach them. With this bee bag, I am using a waterproof canvas, and there is no interfacing extra that was added just because this has some soft structure. So I added a little piece of interfacing behind that female snap for some added strength. Then you place the front slip pocket right on top of the primary panel main, everything facing up. Just make sure that you align all of the notches together, because that would be very important in the end, that all of the seams will match together. And now we're back with view A with that front slip pocket. Make sure it's centered on top and match all of those notches. The only change here is that you have that front flap, so you will make sure that you match the notches, it's all centered, and then it is time to baste all around. Make sure that the magnetic snaps, of course, match as well, and then you can go all the way through and baste. And once you are done, set the front panel aside. Then it's going to be time to work on the back exterior panel. With the lower zipper pocket main right side facing up, you're going to place your short zipper on top. Take note of the zipper direction, and then you place the lining right on top. Use your zipper foot to attach everything together, and note that this is going to be the same as you make view B as well. You will flip the lower zipper pocket pieces right sides together and press. Then you will repeat the same exact steps in 19 with the upper zipper pocket. I held off on doing the top stitching until the very end, but you just want to make sure that you press well and top stitch about 1/8 of an inch away from the zipper. Then you will take one of the primary linings, and that is going to be your zipper pocket lining. You lay it directly on top and baste all the way around. If the back exterior zipper pocket happens to be a little bit longer than the back zipper pocket lining, then trim the zipper pocket to the primary panel lining. Now view B is going to look a little bit different because we have the zipper placket, which is essentially just a zipper cover for the back exterior panel. You want to make sure to either finger press or press with an iron a fold that connects those side points. Then you will attach the zipper placket and the upper zipper pocket lining to the lower part of the zipper pocket. Make sure that they are sandwiching the zipper in place and that you can fold that zipper placket back up. Then it's time to go to the machine. So everything together, attaching the placket lining and the zipper. Then you will fold along what you had pressed earlier, and you are going to top stitch that fold down. You want to make sure that all the other parts of that back zipper pocket are all out of the way. Then you want to make sure that you press well and make sure that back lining matches up to the front placket as much as possible. Then with the marking that you had made, you are going to top stitch right on top of that marking in order to top stitch the seam allowance of the zipper down and make sure that everything is connected. Then you are going to push in those little side wings on that placket to make sure that it aligns to the short end of the zipper. This is going to allow a little bit of volume so that your zipper pull is going to be able to move back and forth. From here, you will take the zipper pocket and then lay it on top of your primary panel lining again. Match up all of the notches, and if there is any extra fabric hanging off of the zipper pocket, then you can trim down to match. Baste all the way around and then set aside. And that's it for part 1 of the Irene Crossbody Sew Along. Head to part 2 for more.